So this is the warm up for our sixth quiz. And the first thing that we're going to do is simplify a square root. So we have, I'm not going to ask you to simplify a square root that can't simplify. So keep in mind that there is a perfect square that goes in to whatever I ask you to simplify. So for this one, you have to think of, because if you type in -75, your calculator is going to give you an error for two reasons. Because 75 is not a perfect square, and because it's a negative. So does anybody remember what the square root of a negative number is? Imaginary. So it has to have an I in the answer. And to simplify this, we're going to think about what perfect square can go into 75. So has anybody figured it out? 25. So I got to keep the negative. 25 times 3 makes 75. Ignore the negative for a second. What's the square root of 25? 5. So since it's -25, I gotta say 5i, and then I'm left with the square root of 3. So anytime that you can find a perfect square that can go out into the front, that's a 5i that goes out into the front. And then you're left with the 3 underneath the radical. That is your answer. The square root of a negative number is I. The square root of a negative number is I. Over here, the I wheel, you have to be able to recreate this wheel on your paper on the quiz. And so I'm going to start with the top one. The top one is just I to the first power, and it equals itself. So you start with I equals I. Then I'm going to go around to the right. So I squared, do y'all remember what I squared equals? -1. So if you can remember these, so I and -1, across from those are the opposites. So if this is I, this is -I. If this is -1, across from it is +1. For I to the 24th, we're going to count. We're just going to count starting with 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I to the 24th power will behave the same as I to the 4th power, and the answer is 1. Moving on. Next, we're going to do some operations with imaginary or complex numbers. And so imaginary has the I, complex has the I. So to simplify, anytime you have parentheses, you have to look in front of the parentheses. If there's nothing there or it's a positive, you can just take away the parentheses. It's like they weren't even there. If there is a negative, you have to make every sign inside the parentheses opposite. So this will become -12 and then -4. So I'm going to distribute in the negative to both pieces inside that binomial. The first set of parentheses I rewrite because nothing changes. And if one of these was a negative, it would become positive. Now I'm just going to combine like terms. So all I'm going to do is rewrite these pieces underneath these pieces. So the real piece, or just the number by itself, has to be written with the number part or the constant or the real piece. And the imaginary piece has to stay with the imaginary piece. Do you see an equal sign? No. So when I'm just rearranging the order, I'm not changing the signs. I'm just going and grouping things together. So I'm going to put the minus 12 underneath the 17 and the minus 4i underneath the 5. So I just rewrote these pieces over here. Again, I didn't change the sign because there's no equal sign. I'm not moving them across the equal sign. And now I'm going to combine them. What is negative 17 minus 12? It's getting more negative. And you could use a calculator. Negative 29. 5 minus 4 is 1. And you don't have to write the 1, but you can. You could also just write I. We need to remember that it is standard to write the real piece first, and then the imaginary or complex part second. I'm going to say imaginary. Okay, the real part has to come first. Next, I'm going to distribute. So this is just like distributing in an X. So I'm going to multiply I times 2 and then I times 12i. So I times 2 becomes 2i. And the I comes after. It's kind of like the same placement as an X. I times 12i will be 12i squared. So plus 12i squared. Y'all already told me, what is I squared? I squared equals negative 1. Okay, so I could rewrite this as 2i plus 12 times negative 1. What's 12 times negative 1? Negative 12. All right, well, I can rewrite my problem, but I'm just going to write it in the same format as this. I'm going to put the real part first and the imaginary part second. So I'm going to put negative 12 first and then positive 2i after. So I'm going to have negative 12 plus 2i. So I just switched the order. Next, solve with square roots. Okay, so I'm going to solve this with a square root. So first thing that I'm going to do is try and isolate the x. And to do that, I'm going to move the 36 to the other side. So I have to subtract it. So I get x squared is equal to negative 36. How do I undo something squared? Square root. So I'm going to square root both sides. Plus and minus the square root on this side will cancel out that square. And plus and minus square root on this side. So now on the left, I'm left with just x equals. What is the square root of, ignore this negative. What's the square root of 36? 6. What's the square root of negative 36? 6i. So I get plus and minus 6i. The square root of a negative number is I, or imaginary. We're almost done. The next problem says to solve by completing the square, and I give you the formula right here. And then 7 says solve using the quadratic formula, and I give you that formula right here. So to complete the square, I'm going to first move the constant. It's already set equal to 0, so I'm going to move the constant over here and add 2. So I rewrite it. X squared plus 6x plus blank equals 2 plus blank. And then the next line, this is where I'm factoring it. What's the sign that goes inside these parentheses? What? Plus. So I'm going to put the plus sign here because it always matches the middle term. And then off to the side, I'm going to complete the square. So off to the side, what is the b term? 6. So I'm going to do 6 divided by 2 squared. What's 6 divided by 2? 3. What's in parentheses will stay in parentheses. So I get 3. And then I work my way up. What's 3 squared? That goes in that blank. What you add to one side, you have to add to the other. What is 9 plus 2? 11. And now I'm going to solve using square roots, because how do I undo this square? Square root. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides, plus and minus the square root on this side will cancel out that square, and plus and minus the square root of 11. So on the left side, I canceled out the square, so I have x plus 3. What's the square root of 11? Is that a nice, pretty square root? No. Does it reduce? No. So it is just plus and minus the square root of 11. And I've said before that when it doesn't reduce, it's actually kind of easier because you don't have to make 2 branches. It's kind of easier. To get x by itself, I need to bring over the 3, and so I'm going to subtract 3, but it needs to go in front of the square root. So I'm going to subtract 3, and it will go right in front. So I get x in my solution set, -3, plus and minus the square root of 11. My curly brackets are crazy today, but that's okay. They do not look like parentheses. And our last problem, we're going to solve using the quadratic formula. So when we use the quadratic formula, you have to have values for a, b, and c. We'll plug into the formula. And a, b, and c are in that order. You can label them if you'd like. We've got a, b, and c. What's the number in front of this x if there isn't one? A 1. So A is 1, B is -6, and C is 5. Plugging into the formula, X is equal to -B. B is -6. Plus and minus the square root of B squared. So -6 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 5, all over 2 times A, which is 1. Even when it's a 1, plug it in. From here, I'm going to simplify it up and just leave myself a short square root because I'm going to type all that stuff into the calculator. So I get x is equal to, what's negative? Positive, so I get +6 plus and minus a little square root all over 2 times 1, which is just 2. Did anybody type all of this into the calculator? Yeah? If anybody typed it in, what did you get? 16. Okay, 16. What is the square root of 16? 4. So I'm going to get 2 branches where I have 6 plus 4 divided by 2 and 6 minus 4 divided by 2. 6 plus 4 is 10 divided by 2. What's 10 divided by 2? 5. And then I have 6 minus 4. So I get 2 divided by 2. What's 2 divided by 2? 1. So I get x is equal to the solution set with 1 and 5. You're going to go ahead and finish writing all of this up.